Hello everybody and welcome to This Nintendo Life, episode 305! That's right, that's correct, right? That's the right number? I assume so because last time we messed it up and, you know, I can't be getting these things wrong all the time, otherwise you just think I'm a second grade podcaster. We can't be doing that, so it better be correct. But here we are, this is episode 305, I'm MBZ. Hello, welcome here to the show. I'm joined as always, of course, by Bally. Hi Bally, how are you doing?
I'm MBZ. I've been playing quite a lot of Silksong. I know you've been playing more.
I think the world has been. You know, it's this. I don't know. It's very cool that we don't have cultural moments anymore. Generally speaking, you are watching one of the cultural moments right now because you did start watching K-pop Demon Hunters. That I don't think we've talked about on the show.
That film hits you like a cultural moment. Like it also made me feel very old. I think so far. It's like
okay.
This all feels very like aimed at Gen Z, and I'm very much not
maybe Gen
Z.
Alpha in some senses.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
Aimed at Bally Junior and Bally Chew. This film, like it's not
exactly.
Actually,
yeah. Not quite. A bit too scary at this point in time. I mean, if Bally was just telling me how Bally Jr. was terrified of Hollow Knight, so we see where he lies on the spectrum of scariness, which is going to follow in his father's footsteps most assuredly.
We've been playing quite a lot of Astra, but I can talk about it sometime. But like we're in the second world, and we've been passing the controller back and forth, and I defeat enemies and bosses, but Bally Jr. he can do a little bit of platforming, and we give each other lots of high fives, and I'm motivating him along, and he's getting better at like jumping and moving the analog stick at the same time. Obviously, I need to do all the camera work, but he's come on leaps and bounds, honestly, in like, I don't know, 4 or 5 play sessions. It's pretty. That's great. It's pretty heartwarming to see.
I'm just thinking about it that I guess Nintendo platformers have that unique thing where you almost don't need the second analog stick because they generally do a good job with the camera of like positioning it where, well, I mean, in the case of like Galaxy, definitely those games position the camera for you, so you didn't actually need to, but also because the Wii didn't have a second analog stick, right? So all of that stuff was already done, but I guess probably DK does still need the analog stick to be played properly.
Yeah. I think Mario Odyssey did a decent amount, and Astro Bot needs a decent amount. We also played a little bit of Kirby Forgotten Land. I think that game... That game's got a very good opening level, like, to teach you platforming, so it was really refreshing to see Bally Jr. like, right, well, you literally have to jump over this gap, and there's no other way of you progressing this level. Therefore, it's forcing you, it's training him nicely, which I think was good. Astro Bot did it a little bit as well, but just... really interesting seeing tutorial levels with the lens of, right, Bally Jr.'s never played a game before and he's going to try and actually jump. It's like, it's quite something. It's interesting. Yeah, it's crazy. That's very, very cool. Well, I'm sure we'll follow along and see how he does, and eventually he'll be doing Silksong final boss true ending, before you will. So we'll okay, here's a bet I want to place with you, Bally. God,
okay, my bet is that one of your sons will finish Elden Ring before you do. So we'll see if that comes true. Just keep listening to the podcast for another 30 years, and then we'll see if that prediction comes to pass. But I feel pretty confident in that prediction. I'm just going to say
challenge accepted.
Yeah, they don't know that they're part of the challenge yet, but they will defeat you. They will beat Elden Ring before you do.
I'm more nervous about like someone like Caroline beating Elden Ring before me. I feel like
that could happen.
Because our kids are very young at the moment. It's a lot. Caroline's gaming has definitely dropped off a lot at the moment. But when life is a little less busy, she's definitely keen to get back into some games, and open world is her bread and butter. So I feel like Elden Ring could be something. Yeah, so it's a test certainly. Cool. Well, here we are, Bally, once again on the wrong end of Nintendo. It's just there's a consistency with this podcast, which is, hey, do we have an episode coming out? Great, we're going to announce a Nintendo Direct to happen right after that episode comes out, which is exactly what happened once more. Every single time. This one was on a Friday, which is a weird situation. I can't remember the last Direct on a Friday. It felt very strange.
Yeah. It is quite odd. But we'll obviously be chatting about that. But Bally, do you want to lay out the show format for people today?
For the first segment, we're going to talk about the Nintendo Direct. And then for the second segment, we're going to check in with Silksong. And we'll probably spoil stuff up to where I am vaguely. I'm about, what did I say, 25, 26
You're
hours
kind of
in,
like late Act 2, basically.
Yeah, late Act 2 spoilers we might warn for. So if you want to come along for the ride, check out that segment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you are still playing and you're a little bit behind, then you can listen to that a little bit later. But yeah, we've got a lot of Nintendo Direct chats to be having. So yeah, here we are with this September Nintendo Direct, one that was rumored for a while, that was kind of initially rumored around the time when the Indie World and the Partner Showcase were happening, because people were like, oh, they're going to do they're going to do 3 things, and one of them is this, and one of them is that, and the final one is going to be a big Direct, and that was the case. Lots of rumors going into this as well, people talking about 3 games with 7 in it, all these kind of things happening, and all turned out to be true.
What were the 3 games with 7?
Final Fantasy 7,
okay.
Dragon Quest 7, and Resident Evil 7.
Nice.
Those were the 3.
Got you.
Yeah,
very good.
So no Ace Attorney, sadly. No. There was another one that people are wanting as well, but it's a sad state of affairs that the Dream 7s were not showing up, but there was some good ones here. So yeah, an odd time for it. It was a Friday. I think Nintendo wanted to do that because of the adjacency to the obviously Mario's 40th anniversary, which I guess technically when it aired in Japan it would have been on the same day, so it would have been Saturday maybe in Japan time when this was airing, or around that time, midnight, when it was kind of crossing over into the actual day of Mario's 40th anniversary. And this is specifically the 40th anniversary of Super Mario Brothers, the first video game on the of the series, as opposed to Mario Brothers, the arcade game,
right,
which is
on the NES thing. Not the arcade game.
Correct.
I think they were probably also avoiding September 11th, is what I'm going to guess. On the Thursday.
Maybe. That's true. That probably is a good shout also. So it kind of like worked out in that way also. But so that was kind of the big deal, and obviously they spent a lot of time talking about Mario things. But it was the longest Direct we've had in a long time, one of the longest of all time, I think. It was over
an hour and 8 minutes or so, an hour and 5
Yeah,
minutes?
it was pushing 1 hour 10, which is kind of crazy. You usually only saw those lengths in the E3 times or around those summer periods, but there's not been one as beefy since then. So I don't know, Bally, overall, how do you feel coming out of this Nintendo Direct? Did it meet your expectations? Is there anything that was something that stood out as like, oh wow, this is what I was wanting to hear about for the kind of early period of Switch 2?
Yeah, I mean, I think for my personal tastes, I don't think there was a ton announced or that was new. I think overall it's fairly solid. I think we forget not how sparse, but like the second year of Switch 1 was a lot less hype than obviously the first year. First year had Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey. I think year 2 had like Smash Brothers, etc. was the big thing of the second year.
Yeah, so that was the main thing, and then they did the Let's Go Pikachu and things like that.
Yeah, so it's looking like so far the main thing of next year is Fire Emblem, which and I guess that's the biggest announcement arguably is Fire Emblem from this Direct.
Yeah, I guess so.
And I think that Fire Emblem is in this weird echelon of like, it's not top tier. It's probably just of the top tier, especially in terms of like sales. But I think in terms of fan interest, I think I'd argue based on the podcast I listen to, Fire Emblem's a little bit of a Marmite series. You're either you are into Fire Emblem or you're not. And I think that having dabbled in the series in the past, I'm on the side of not into the series at the moment, especially with the amount of time I have to play games. They're obviously very long games. So if that final thing had been something right on my street, I would have been much more positive. But I think if you like Fire Emblem and you like Switch 2, I think this Direct was very solid. And I think as a Nintendo fan, it was really refreshing to see some of the weirdest things ever. I think revealed in any Direct was in this Direct. And I think what's so exciting about that is that it means that for future Directs, you can never rule out anything. Like everything is on the table, and I think that arguably in certain Directs and other times and throughout the Switch life cycle, sometimes it felt like Nintendo were a little bit safe. And as much as there are lots of safe announcements in this Direct, there's some just completely wacko out there oh my god, I cannot believe that was announced, decisions that we can get to. So I think that was the most refreshing thing for me personally. And I think also Hades 2 coming next week is very personally exciting, but that was also kind of not expected, but like quite a realistic
it was an inevitability,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
You could kind of like plot it out of like their early access updates and how long they had between them, and it was gonna happen.
In terms of unannounced game that I'm probably the most interested in, it's probably something like Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, honestly. And
okay, interesting.
I don't think I'm overly hyped about that, so I think that speaks to like maybe my overall hype levels for this direct.
Yeah. That makes sense. I think it was a direct for specific fandoms and specific sickos, I think, is the kind of direct that it was, which I think is increasingly the case, generally speaking, when it comes to the stuff that Nintendo shows. Obviously, they lean heavy into Japanese studios and like specific big series from those fandoms, but I thought it was very funny because I'm a sicko for all of these games, but, Dragon Quest, Danganronpa, and Fire Emblem, right? 3 quite specific fandoms and 3 quite specific types of people who would be into those types of games. And it was very funny watching reactions to this direct and seeing people be like, oh, it was so shit, and then Dragon Quest 7 showed up and I was losing my mind, or someone being like, it was boring, I was falling asleep, then Danganronpa suddenly appeared. And then I was watching someone specifically who's a Fire Emblem YouTuber, and you just see it in his face, he's just like so done with he literally doesn't care about any other video game, of course, because all they care about is one video game. And then they're like, oh, this direct
it's hard work watching these things if you only care about one video game. I'll definitely say that. Yeah.
But they were just like, oh god, it's such a shit direct, and they're like, Fire Emblem, and suddenly they just lose their mind, right? And so I think it's interesting in that if you don't have broad taste, Nintendo Directs feel like they're just not for you anymore. Not that they ever were necessarily, but like if you're a fan of one franchise, then sometimes you might get lucky and it'll show up and you'll be excited. But otherwise, you're gonna have to sit through a lot of stuff that you're not necessarily interested in. I just so happen to be on the side of like I am into a lot of stuff that this Direct showed specifically, and I think overall it was very, very good. I think they maybe spent a bit too long on some of the Mario stuff at the beginning. And you could...
it was like 20 minutes of 40th anniversary, and
pretty much it was about a third of the runtime was taken up by the Mario stuff, and I think you could have condensed that, or even had it be its own separate presentation, separate from the rest. But to be honest, I think it would have been weaker for it. I think all of this together was a stronger thing than separating the Mario stuff and then having the rest of it be its own Nintendo Direct. So I'm glad they did do it all together, but there's definitely some stuff there they could have kind of, I don't know, paced out a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, obviously, resident Fire Emblem fan here, have been since I was, 14 or whatever. So very, very excited. I've been looking up like Fire Emblem ROM hacks recently because I'm just getting the itch of like, oh, gotta play a new Fire Emblem. So yeah, we'll get deep into talking about that. Prime 4 is obviously coming out, and we have a release date for it now, but that was we discussed that trailer and the surprise that was one of the surprises and weird things that happened in this direct for sure. But overall, yeah, pretty happy with this one. And I think it's nice to start seeing a few more indies and third parties get their Switch 2 versions coming, starting to see who did get a dev kit from Nintendo, and I don't know, I don't think we'll really get a full blast until middle of next year is when everything will start dropping. But yeah, I think it's starting to set the table a little bit in terms of what will other studios be doing on Switch 2, because it just seems like it's very limited right now in terms of anyone who has access to that dev kit. So yeah, overall enjoyed it, but let's get into the specifics, Bally, and we're going to do a similar thing to what we've done. We're going to go through the major things, we're going to go through an order of those, and then we'll hit the small stuff on the way back as a second kind of round. So let's kick things off, as Nintendo did, with a first look at the new movie for Mr. Mario himself, and it's not what you would expect. I don't know what I was expecting, to be honest. I was just expecting Mario Movie 2, and it just, I don't know, Wario. And my prediction, actually, so I did a bingo card, everyone's favorite bingo card. So I did one of those, and my prediction was we got Wario and Waluigi casting, because I thought that like those guys would probably show up in a sequel. You know, if you got Bowser as your main villain in the first movie, then Wario's your next main villain, right? So you kind of get him positioned, and I thought that was going to be the case. That is not the case, Bally, because instead we have the Super Mario Galaxy movie. They're just like jumping over a bunch of eras here, and we're going straight from the first one straight to Galaxy, which is is interesting, and I'm sure will be cool, and you'll have Rosalina and stuff like that. But definitely a surprise, I think, in terms of the direction they're going.
Yeah, I mean, so the first film was the Super Mario Brothers films, obviously based on the Super Mario Brothers, and as you say, we've skipped a ton of games, and then Super Mario Galaxy. I just think the word Mario Galaxy, like, that's only something Mario fans know about. I don't think adding the word Galaxy is like, considering how mainstream this film will be and who it's aimed at, like the first film, I just think it feels like a very strange decision to be like, right, well, Mario Galaxy is what it's all about. And now maybe there's some visual effects, what they call imagination, or what's the studio called?
Yeah. Oh, the fucking Minions people.
The Minions people. So maybe they're very into something space related, and that there's something they think they can show off their talents visually better using space, and like they had a few options like Mario World, or they thought about Mario Sunshine, and they decided to actually go with
there was never in any universe a chance that Mario Sunshine would be the next thing that they would do. Illumination is the studio, by the way.
Illumination, of course. So there's obviously something about space that they are keen to showcase, or they think that it's a good idea. I'm surprised we didn't get a Rosalina casting. That could have been a drop. And honestly, when that guy Chris, what was his name? Chris Meledandri, like, I don't want to see that guy in the Nintendo Direct. He's not going to tell me about video games, and I know,
like all he did was like slowly reintroduce all the cast we already know for the movie.
Oh my, which is painful. And I feel like this is going to become a more common thread as the Nintendo cinematic universe expands. Is they're going to infiltrate more and more Nintendo Direct time, and it's going to become more and more irritating. But oh well. I also understand that Chris Meledandri is also like on Nintendo's board, so he probably has quite a lot of sway in terms of, I'm going to be on the Nintendo Direct today. And
oh boy.
Anyway, it was a bit painful. Will I go and see this film? Of course I will. Will I have a good time? Probably. Will it frustrate me as much as the first one? Probably. Having with Bally Jr. now at that age where we're actually watching quite a lot of kids' films, he's now at the age where I probably could show him the Mario film and see how he reacts. Because I just think that a lot of kids' films are just paced so just like, I don't know, I wasn't very impressed by the first film, but I expect the second one will be very similar. I think so. Weird way to open, and we can get to these other announcements, but I'm very convinced more so than ever that like Mario anniversaries, Zelda anniversaries, like Nintendo just does not care. They do not align development of films or games to these anniversaries. There are some exceptions, I will give them that, but I'm not convinced that any of these announcements would have not been the case had it not been for the 40th anniversary. I think that they all would have happened anyway, and they've just bunched them together at the start of this Direct to celebrate 40th. I really am not convinced that anything has changed otherwise.
Yeah, because I think that, like, generally speaking, Nintendo always have Mario products in the works, right? There's always something, and you're right. Like, maybe it's a case that they could have announced one of these things earlier. Like, could they have done a Galaxy 1 and 2 re-release earlier? I mean, it's weird because of the whole 3D Worlds, 3D collection, whatever the fuck it was called, the limited time one that we bought.
We played all 3 games that year. That was quite an undertaking by us.
Yeah, that was good fun. But I don't see like the mysterious book and Yoshi and that stuff is like very specific for this year of the 40th anniversary of Mario. Like, it's not even a lead Mario character; it's a Yoshi game. So there's definitely a sense of gluing things together to fit a narrative, as opposed to them masterminding this plan of Mario's 40th anniversary.
And the Odyssey team put out a DK game, like.
Right, yeah.
If they were really that keen on the 40th being about Mario, maybe their number one Mario team would put out a Mario game, but yeah.
Yes. And to be clear, I'm glad that this is the way they operate, because I don't want them to have their game-specific schedule directed by another medium that is like an extension of their IP expansion, as opposed to, a thing that could be the thing that directs their mainline franchises. So I'm glad Nintendo sticks to being Nintendo, which is, we're just going to make what we're making because this is what the games we think are going to be important, and then we're doing Mario's movie, let's just try and throw some stuff in there. And I think the Galaxy and Galaxy 2 one is just a very nice easy thing for them to do. Like, it's okay, well, we're doing a Mario Galaxy movie, have we re-released those? I mean, yeah, the first one kinda, but it was limited, no one can buy it anymore, let's just do it again. And people wanted Galaxy 2, so let's do that as well. So yeah, this is the Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 collection, thankfully also purchasable as separate games on the eShop, so you don't have to rebuy Galaxy if you don't want to.
But you don't get any money off the second game just by buying the first game like you did with the previous collection, which is silly.
Yeah, and I think, pricing has become a thing that a lot of people are talking about with this. It's a whole thing. I think I seem to remember buying the 3D collection for like £35, like pretty reasonable, back then.
Something like that, yeah. Hard copy online.
Exactly. And now it's $70 for both, which is kind of staggering. Like, I put it on my wish list on Switch 2 for Galaxy 2, and I'm like, $34.99. I was like, you can fuck off. I'm waiting for a sale on that, which of course will never happen because it's Nintendo, and the best I can hope for is 33% off in 6 years' time. But I don't know, man. Like, I would have been interested in replaying Galaxy 2 if it was 20 quid. If it was 20 quid on the eShop, sure, I'll rebuy Galaxy 2 and play it again. There's no fucking way I'm paying that much to replay Galaxy 2. I think some of the stuff that they have been doing with pricing has been pretty bad overall. And I think they're gonna start seeing the effect of it, honestly, because people are not just gonna lie down and buy things. So yeah, we'll see.
I saw Kit and Krista were talking about their strategy. It's called it's not dynamic pricing. It's called like Doug Bowser said it or something. Apparently, it's like variable pricing. It's like their strategy, variable pricing. And Kit was making the point like, those are just words. They've always had variable pricing. Like, they've always had different prices on different products and different video games. So like, the idea of now there's this new thing of variable pricing is just this weird word salad to conjure up more expensive video games. Like, it's
pretty much.
Are you at all convinced that this obsession with the Mario Galaxy film and the ports of these two games, does that make a Mario Galaxy 3 any more likely?
Yeah, this is a really interesting question. It just feels like a thing Nintendo wouldn't do, I think Galaxy 2 was already an anomaly in the fact that every 3D Mario up to that point had been a unique world and a different thing. And the very fact that they returned to the Galaxy idea twice is, in a way, a disappointment. Like, obviously, Galaxy 2, one of the best games Nintendo has ever made, but it is, to some degree, disappointing that they didn't have a new bespoke thing, as opposed to a Galaxy 2. And you could argue that Galaxy 2 was a lot easier to make because they already made Galaxy 1. They had other ideas to do, and therefore that's why they both came out on the same system on the Wii, and it was a lot faster in terms of development, because I think there's only 3 years between them, because Galaxy 1 is 2007 and Galaxy 2 is 2010, I believe. Right, so it's a pretty quick turnaround. So yeah, I mean, you could make that argument, but I
think that was a bit of a long turnaround back then, to be honest.
yeah, honestly, we've gotten to weird dev cycles at this point in time, but yeah, I think I don't know that I believe that necessarily. I do think they're doing something totally different, and I do think that like we've talked about with DK and how long that was in development for, I imagine the plan for this would have happened or started to be sketched out long before they had the Galaxy movie in plans at all. So
totally. I agree.
Going back to what we'd previously said, I just don't think it's that likely.
They don't try and line up anything; it all just kind of happens. Yeah.
No, exactly, and I do think that like you said, had they made this want to be a proper anniversary, they would have greenlit a Galaxy 3 previously when this movie was making the rounds internally, and then they would have lined up to Galaxy 3 to be the game that came out in July as opposed to DK. And that didn't happen, so I don't think it's going to happen.
I think lining up things in order to celebrate an anniversary makes them zero extra money. I think that's the ultimate reason they don't bother doing it. They line things up in very specific ways to make as much money as possible, time it for a holiday and that kind of thing. And I just think that anniversaries are just not important to them. Which might be quite hard to swallow when Mario's 50th comes up in 10 years, but we'll see.
Oh, that might be the one they do actually have to plan for. We'll see.
Because 50 is a big deal compared to 40.
Especially in video games. Like, the industry is so young that like 50 is a terrifying number, frankly, of how long video games have been around for. But yeah, we'll see what they do. One quick thing on the Galaxy 2, because you were kind of talking about like they are not the most well-known of the Mario games, and therefore why would they kind of do it for a movie? I do think that there is a halo effect of, okay, people didn't buy Galaxy, but I do think that because the Wii generation and the Wii era was a mainstream era for Nintendo, I do think people know what Galaxy is a bit more necessarily than some of the other Mario worlds, just because in that period of time their profile was higher.
So you
generally
think
speaking,
average normies out there who don't listen to Nintendo podcasts like ours,
yeah,
if you said, right, name a Mario game, I think the first game they will say is, they would just say Mario Brothers.
Yeah, they'll just say Super Mario or whatever.
Or Super Mario. You think after that they're saying Mario Galaxy?
Not necessarily, but stick with me here, because I don't know why I did this, but I was looking at Google Trends for like when it was the most searched, like when was Nintendo the hottest in terms of its search traffic on the internet, and you would expect it to be more recent with Switch and stuff like that. Switch is half the traffic of when the Wii was out. The Wii is still the number one search traffic period of Nintendo for the last however many years, which tells me that the halo effect and the brand awareness they had around that era for normies is actually a lot bigger than their current moment is, which is kind of remarkable to think about, but I do think that does have an effect. So I do think that Galaxy is more in the upper element of what people would know Nintendo for, into know Mario for, basically.
Right. So we can expect the Zelda film to be called Zelda Skyward Sword.
No, because that's a different... Walk with me here, right? 2007 is different from 2011, right? 2007
Ocarina of Time's got more cachet than Mario 64.
Of course, yes. But also, like... You know, no one bought Skyward Sword on the Wii, and also the Wii was dead by 2011, right? Like, the casual people who were paying attention knew what the Wii was in 06 and 07, and that's when Mario Galaxy came out, right? So they are in the minefield of a Galaxy thing. Even if they didn't buy it, Galaxy still sold like 10, 12 million copies at that period of time. I just think that there's a little bit of a... It's brand awareness more than sales, which is kind of what I'm arguing. But anyway, semantics to some degree. Anyway, that's cool that those are happening. Yeah, I wish they were cheaper, but hey, it's Nintendo. It's what they're going to do. Bally, they have announced a brand new Mario Tennis video game, of which, you know, you used to like these and seemingly in recent years have fallen off the whole sports Mario.
I feel like between Mario Kart and the Mario sports games, I'm almost like a former fan. It's very embarrassing. It's just like... I don't know. These games just aren't. I don't enjoy them as much as I used to, and it's more about me than them. I think it's more about me. I don't know. I just think that the 64 game was fantastic. I played the GameCube tennis. It was also good. I never played the Wii. The GameCube one was the last one I think I played, honestly.
People kind of liked the Switch one, Aces. I think they were a lot hotter on that than the golf game, of course, which we did both play, which was a terrible idea for me to buy. Why did I buy that? That was terrible.
I can't believe you bought a game. I do genuinely lean more towards golf than tennis, especially if there's like RPG modes and this kind of thing. But you're right. The last golf game I played was not good, and I don't know. I don't have the time to play Mario sports games. I just don't rate them anymore. It's very depressing. I don't have faith that the formula is evolving in a meaningful way and adding these different rackets. And there's one point where they're like, you can now dive and do a leap shot. So it's like, you could do that on the GameCube one. Like, it's like they're just inventing stuff for no good reason that I just think is not good. Like, the reason the N64 one feels so good is the physics are just unique. Like, they don't feel like the GameCube game, even compared to the N64 game, feels so sanitized. The way the ball bounces, the way the character moves, the charge up shot. Like, there's a flow to the N64 game that none of these other games have, to my knowledge. Like, I just don't rate them. And maybe I'm just like, grass is always greener when it's in the past.
Sure.
But like, genuinely, that 64 game, you can play it on Switch Online right now. It feels a lot better. Like, I'm not convinced by modern Mario sports games, and I think this game falls into that camp as well. I'm also not convinced that story mode is a meaningful RPG mode. I think it just
they're calling it adventure mode as well,
it
which
just
is
looks
not
exactly like the quote-unquote RPG mode that was in the golf game that we both played on Switch. Like, it's just not.
I don't know about that. I do think it looks better than that in terms of, like, you have this area that you explore. Like, that clubhouse area looks like a GBA-style RPG clubhouse area at the beginning of that game. You know, like, when Baby Mario's walking across, I'm like, that looks almost exactly the same. So I do think they are trying to recall that to some degree. Whether they'll be successful or not is another matter. But I don't know. There were elements of what they showed there of a, you know, here's some challenges to do and stuff like that. Like, that's the kind of thing I actually do want to have in a Mario kind of single player thing of, like, let me do, like, these rally challenges, let me do these things, do a side quest and help out this character. And boss fights can come or go and they can be good or bad potentially, but there's an element of, like, adventure to that adventure mode that I think they were communicating quite well, if I'm honest. So, could always be wrong, and we'll see what reviews say, but I have a little more hope that it'll be more expansive than what we've had in the past.
I think the two best sports RPGs I've played in the last decade are Golf Story and Dodgeball Academia. I think those both scratch that itch that I've been longing to be scratched so much between, like, Mario sports games. Even when I went back and was it this last year, I played Mario Golf on the Game Boy Color. Like, that RPG mode was fantastic. I loved playing that game. Like, they've just completely lost their roots and what made those series special, and it's a real shame. And like I said, I just think the indies are doing sports RPGs much better, and I don't think Mario is the path for sports RPGs anymore, unfortunately.
It's definitely, it's felt like the Switch generation was the one where things really broke for people, where people are like, what the hell are they doing with these games anymore? So it's not just you. I do think it's a wider thing that people are acknowledging, is that they've not been great.
I felt like the 3DS Mario Golf is supposed to be very good, and I never played that one. So
I was going to mention that. I was going to say, like, I think if you want to play a new Mario Golf game, maybe finding a copy of the 3DS one is the way to go, because I remember hearing people really love that one. So
I could just wait for Toadstool Tour on the GameCube.
That's true,
virtual console, Nintendo Switch Online, because as much as those games don't have an RPG mode, they're just really solid golf games. Like, I just think the GameCube one was fantastic. I loved it.
So I'm sure that will come around. But yeah, we'll see. I think I hope that this one is good, because I think that they need a good one at some point to come here. Otherwise, the curse will continue with Mario sports games. So yeah, we'll see. Okay, then I got a little bit excited because I was like, I love Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Fantastic game, probably the best 2D Mario platformer. And I was like, great, give me more content, give me a Switch 2 edition. I will buy that for however much, and I will play new levels. And then they were like, lol, it's a multiplayer mode. And I was like, well, you're not getting my money, Nintendo, I guess. Which, I don't know. They did mention there's other stuff in this expansion or in this Switch 2 edition, so there could very well be single-player stuff alongside the meetup in Bellabelle Park, which is the kind of, multiplayer area where you go and do a bunch of different challenges with people. And yeah, I don't know. This is disappointing. It's a shame that this is what they're doing, and I get why they're doing it, because Nintendo have always wanted to lean into family stuff and multiplayer modes and all that sort of stuff, but it just is, I'm never going to play it, unfortunately. So it's just, feels lost on me, which is not great.
They just want to hammer that multiplayer. We've got, what's that C button do again? They just want to plug everything through that again, through Nintendo Chat.
That's true.
Get it going.
Have people's faces show up. That's
is that what it's called? Thing. Nintendo Chat? Have I just made that up?
I think that's an RFN joke of, like, the John once forgot the name of the show and he was like, welcome back to Nintendo Chat or whatever it was called. So
what is it? I've completely forgotten what the C button's for. I know it's for. What's it called?
It does. I think it is chat, isn't it?
I
don't know. I guess it's the chat button.
Nintendo, come on.
Great. We don't even remember. We do a fucking Nintendo podcast.
Look at us.
Sake. Communication.
We're fake Nintendo boys. We're just virtual boys.
We are virtual boys. We'll get to that. But yeah, I don't know. Mario Wonder. I hope they have something else for this. Because that would be disappointing otherwise. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like they really need to consider, like, who are their players who are returning for these Switch 2 editions, because for the most part, people who you are targeting with a Nintendo Direct and the people that you are wanting to, spend more money on your games, your hardcore audience, they are not the people who are going to be playing Meet Up in Bell Park with the, I just doesn't seem like the same audience to me.
Have a talking flower.
Have a talking flower instead. Yeah, great. That's God, what a thing. I don't even know what they're doing. Like, it's not even an amiibo. It's just like, here's a thing, and you press a button, and they just made a flower. So that's definitely on the list of like weird things in this direct. That was just extremely odd that was there.
Did that flower take off in the way that Nintendo think it took off? Like, I thought everyone was like, either they hate the flower or they quite like the flower, and there was nothing else. It was just like,
no. And then everyone forgot it existed, and then Nintendo were like, actually, he's the best mascot. He's even the fucking announcer in Mario Tennis, by the way, as well. So the flower is getting a lot of plaudits here.
Does the flower make it into the Mario Galaxy movie?
I guarantee you there's either like a little Easter egg, or either that or he's a main character, I think, because I do think that the flower is being pushed pretty strongly.
Okay, voiced by?
God, I don't even fucking know. Peter Dinklage? I have no idea.
Okay, right, that's good.
So, yeah, talking flower, he exists.
I do think, posh British accent for that. I know he's American, Peter Dinklage, but the British accent.
The talking flower has an American accent, doesn't he? I'm pretty sure. In Wonder. When
you think the accent of a character in the video games matters for the films? Like, they're just gonna give that thing any old voice.
Yeah, they can do what they like. That's very true. Anyway, I don't know. I will not be buying the talking flower. I don't know how much it is. Probably an exorbitant amount of money.
Probably way too much money.
Way too much. Yeah, for sure. Imagine this is the thing. Okay, we just need to think about this from Nintendo's perspective, right? They're a lifestyle brand now. They need to be everywhere in your house and everything you do. And I'm just thinking about, like, in 50 years time, I'm just like, here's an imaginary family, and this entire house is just like, you have your Alamo, you've got your talking flower on the windowsill. Like, it's everything. Every part of your house is Nintendo, because they've wormed their way into your brand, your life as like a lifestyle brand, essentially. I do think that's part of where this come from, and then the other part is just like, lol, we want to do a stupid thing, so we're gonna make a talking flower. So there's wacky Nintendo still alive here. So it's all good. But there is a brand new video game, Bally, that is not starring Mario. In fact, starring his dog, Yoshi. Everyone's favorite green disposable implement in Super Mario World is back with a starring role in a game that I was like, is this fucking Yoshi's Story 2? Are we going back to the N64 and doing that again? Which Yoshi's Story, a game that I've never played, but I have watched a playthrough of, because of course I've watched a playthrough of every video game, as we all know. Nintendo Capri Sun played through Yoshi's Story a few years ago, and I watched that, and not a great video game, Yoshi's Story. I think pretty tame and very kids focused and very easy and not very interesting from a platforming perspective. And I was worried, I was like, okay, maybe this might be a sequel to that. And I guess it kind of is in spirit, in a way, because it does feel like a more casual, go at your own pace, almost I don't know, like because you are going into an encyclopedia. The book is called Mr. E, which is, terrible pun on mystery. But he's like Mr. Encyclopedia, and inside you learn stuff about enemies or characters, and then it gets like jotted in like a notebook style. I really like the style. I think visually it looks very cool. Just a little concerned, I guess, about like what the game is actually going to end up being. We both, I feel like the last Yoshi game we both played and enjoyed was like Woolly World on the Wii U, and that just felt like a bit of a Yoshi's Island clone with its own kind of unique art style, which is very nice. It's cool. I just don't feel like the formula evolved that much. And then there was one on Switch we didn't play that... Yes, which is Crafted World.
Which was also Good Feel, was it, as well?
Yes, that was also Good Feel. So, and my assumption is this is also Good Feel.
Right, so I'm not convinced this game's doing anything to go above and beyond those other very similar games. And I don't know, it's just Nintendo pulls we need a Yoshi game lever, and then...
Right.
One comes
it's like,
out. Okay,
throw a dart at an art style board. Which one did it land on? Oh, it landed on Book. This is the one we're doing today.
And I think I said this is the unannounced game I'm most likely to buy. I don't think that's true. I think it's probably Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, to be honest.
Because, interesting.
I'd forgotten about that. But I think it's just, I don't know, just wasn't needed to do more. Equally, if it's good and, Bally Jr. does like Yoshi, I could maybe buy it more with him in mind and try it as a
This is the thing I've been thinking is like as your kids grow up and they start to play stuff, do you think you'll fall into that, not trap, but you'll fall into a place of buying games that you wouldn't have bought for yourself, but you're buying them to play co-op with kids essentially?
Exactly, because like this game will be 10 times better than a Bluey game or a Paw Patrol game or some third party that is just...
Because Nintendo has like a bar of quality.
Exactly.
At the very least.
I know that this is going to be at least a decent platformer, and would be Bally Jr. would still enjoy it, and it won't be.
Right.
I know the mechanics are going to be solid, and they'll be infinitely better.
And you're introducing him to like good taste,
exactly.
Yeah.
Like I think when I was introducing him, I basically got like games I thought Bally Jr. might be interested in together. I got Astrobot, Pikmin 4, Mario Wonder, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and I've forgotten the fifth one. But basically, I got them all together, and I thought I'm confident in myself. I could teach him the start of any of these games, and I let him choose. So it felt very kind of independent. He could pick what we were playing. So this game could fall into that category. Like, shall we try it? Okay, let's try it. It's that kind of thing. Just give it a go.
And he likes playing as Yoshi as well, as I recall.
He does. He does like Yoshi.
Yeah. So a whole game about Yoshi, that seems good to me. So anyway, that wraps up the Mario segment of this direct, which was, it was good, I think, in some senses, but a lot of things that were weird about it in various different ways. But fingers crossed that those all come out on a decent... And we are kind of starting to stack up 2026 here, because Mario 10 has got a February release date, I believe. And Yoshi, I think, is also 26. So
I think it said spring 26, so yeah.
Yeah, so I think the start of the year is going to be quite built out already in terms of what we're expecting. So that'll be quite good.
I mean, Yoshi doesn't want to get in the way of Grand Theft Auto,
Of course, yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised when Nintendo just decide to counter-program on that day, because there will be plenty of people who, Grand Theft Auto obviously is going to be the biggest game in the world and everyone will buy it. But there are certain people... me, who will not be playing Grand Theft Auto 6 just because I don't like those games and the way they feel to control. So I'll be looking for counter-programming and what are other people putting out that I can play instead. And so, yeah, I'm sure there's many people like me who will be out there looking for that type of thing. So we shall see. However, the next major thing that we can talk about was a release date for a much anticipated sequel to a beloved independent game, Hades 2, which had one of the best animated trailers I have ever seen in my life. Holy shit, it looked so good. Like, I was a big fan, obviously, of the reveal trailer they did at the Game Awards a couple of years back, but this was just like, they went and spent money, let me tell you, on this. It looked fantastic. And, a good way to kind of build up the premium quality of the brand and the game and everything. But it's but by the time you're listening to this show, it will be out in 3 days, Hades 2, in terms of its 1.0 release, which will be on Switch and Switch 2. It's going to be 120 frames a second in handheld, I believe, or maybe it wasn't handheld. Maybe it was on TV at 1080. It's 120 frames a second, but in handheld it will still be 60. I don't know about it. I never do this. I might buy Hades 2 again because they have mentioned that cross-save is available. So I might do that, and then I might also start a new save file. I don't know what I'm doing with Hades 2. I've played a lot of Hades 2, but not nearly enough Hades 2, if I'm frank with you,
One of your favorite games ever, it was in early access. Now it's getting 1.0. It has left you confused and you don't know what to do. And I mean, only in good ways, right? Because ultimately,
in good ways,
I believe you will start the game again and you will
probably
play it a ton.
I think what I'll do is I'm actually going to have two save files. I'm going to have a new save file to refresh myself on the beginning of the game, which will be good to, when we talk about it on the show, I'll have the first time user experience. And also, this is the thing with early access, is I don't know if they've changed stuff at the beginning of the game since they first had it come out, because going to 1.0 is a different thing, and so they might have new cutscenes, they might have new artwork that wasn't there when I first experienced the opening, and then keep my save file and then continue to grind the end game. And actually, because I'm at a point now where I can finish a run of Hades 2 not easily, but I can get to like the final area without too much trouble, and I've finished it like 3 or 4 times. So now it's the case of like, in Hades 1, when you beat Hades in early access, it would just be like, and then Zagreus went somewhere, but he had to go back to the underworld. So none of the overworld outside stuff was in the early access. So I imagine in 1.0, the first time that I beat the boss, I'm going to get a thing that starts the story actually going into a place that I'm going to then have to follow. So I've not seen any of that stuff yet. So yeah, I'm probably going to do simultaneous and play them both, but very excited. I think I mentioned or I tweeted about this recently, but I started a run of Hades 2 after this got announced because I'm like, yeah, let's get back and see what I haven't seen. And I got further than I gotten in a certain area, and I was like, okay, it's now 2 a.m. because I started playing before I went to bed, and I was like, shit, I've spent way too long playing this video game because it just hooked me again. So yeah, it's very, very compelling. And yeah, I'm interested to see what you think because obviously you played and enjoyed the first game, and yeah, it's look, it's tremendous. I think that Hades 2 is a step up in a lot of different ways. It's different, very different in lots of other ways as well. Curious to see how people respond to it, but yeah, having it come to Switch as an exclusive on console, but then also being on PC, I think it's going to do quite well. Hades 2. Yeah. How are you feeling about it?
I'm super excited. I think the amount of time between me playing Hades 1 and now 2 coming out is perfect. Like I don't think I could have played more and more Hades and would have really enjoyed my time with it, but once Hades 2 was announced, I was like, I'm going to lay off Hades because I want that itch scratched like on max when this game comes out, and I just think I'm very ready for it. I'm liking the idea that the game seems a lot more casts focused because you know me, I'm very turtly. I like to stand back and you know, casts are a crucial part of a turtle strategy if you want to stand at the back and you're casting something out in front of you. So
the cast works completely differently in this game as well, which is instead of the little fucking diamonds that Zagreus had that you could like inject into stuff and throw, the cast is a circle on the ground basically. So you drop it down and when enemies move into it, they get stuck essentially. So you can use it to like gate things off of like, shit, I've got people coming around the right hand side, but I'm also dealing with enemies on the left. I'm going to plop down my circle so that they get kind of halted in their tracks essentially.
A little more tower defensey.
Slightly, yeah, but then also you can obviously upgrade your cast with stuff like you lay it down and it explodes after 3 seconds or whatever, like stuff like that I think using your cast is much more frequent in Hades 2. At least I rely on it a lot more, and the synergies with it are a lot more interesting as well. So yeah, they've done a lot with it.
I've also heard enough people who loved Hades 1 who have said, I'm going to hold off on early access. I'm going to wait for Hades 2, and I'm confident that regardless of the game being in early access, it's going to get a huge beat when this game comes out and huge impact.
Absolutely.
So
well, it's not been on console at all, right? So I think Switch owners, I think it's already number 1 on the eShop. It's not out yet. So pre-orders alone, it's number 1 on the eShop, which says it's going to be quite big. I think a lot of people are going to be buying it and playing it. So yeah, and the fun thing about it is like Hades 2 has a lot of surprises, like a lot of really fun surprises that for me now it's like, oh, old news, I already saw those. But back when I first played it last year, I was like shocked by some stuff in Hades 2, and I was like, this is fucking cool what they've been doing with this game. So yeah, excited for people to get to those and discover those, and I'll vicariously live through your experience first time, Bally, going through it of all the fun stuff.
So if in Hades 1 you're playing as Zagreus in the underworld and you're going towards the surface?
Yes, correct, yeah.
In this game, I've forgotten the girl's name. She's fighting
Melinoe.
Millennial.
Melinoe. Melinoe or Melinoe is how she says it.
Melinoe, okay. And where's she trying to go?
So you're on the surface and you're going down, basically. Okay. So it's almost an inverse of Hades 1.
Right. Very cool.
Yeah.
You're trying to stop time, stop Chronos.
Yeah, I would say it's a much darker story because I mean, fundamentally at the end of the day, Hades 1 was a family drama about like, I'm a teenage son and my dad won't let me leave, so I'm going to be mad about it and just try and leave. There was never like a real sense of danger. Hades 2 is different in that like all of her family has been captured, right? Like, she is the daughter of Hades, right? And so she's related to Zagreus and Persephone and Hades, and they've all been taken away, and she was very young when they were taken away, and so she has been raised by this witch in the woods, and so, yeah, she's basically all her life not had her family around, and so it's a lot...
Is she a half-brother to Zagreus, half-sister to Zagreus, or a sister?
I don't know if I know that or not yet, if I'm honest. Because to be honest with you, in terms of the main narrative in early access, not a lot has been given away. There's definitely a lot of side character stuff and conversations, but in terms of the core narrative, they've kept pretty close to their chest. So there's a lot of surprise still to happen in terms of what the actual core storyline is and what's going to be going on with it. So yeah, I'm actually also waiting to kind of find that stuff out. So yeah, but yeah, looking forward to it. I mean, it's going to be great, I'm sure. I just need to finish Silksong before it comes out. That's all. As all of us do. I just honestly, I can't believe September is an insane month for releases.
Yes.
For indie stuff in particular, and the fact that we are getting the sequels to two of the biggest indie games of all time in the same month
that we've been waiting for both of them for quite a long time. For them to both come in the same month is bananas.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, it will. I don't know. Game of the Year is going to be mad. It's going to be insane. I don't know. My choices are just all over the shop. So who could say what's going to be? But yeah, Hades 2 will be in the running for certain. What might be in the running for next year is maybe Bally's first Dragon Quest game, apparently. Sounding like you're interested, at least in...
Yeah, I mean, I do want to play 3 Remake at some point, but maybe this is a better jump in, I don't know.
So I haven't talked about it on the show. I did finish 3 HD 2D. I don't know that I can recommend that to people, if I'm truly honest. I think that...
Maybe I won't play it.
I think it is an old video game in new skin. It is... To its core, it is an NES fucking video game. And I think that has significant problems when you're talking about a modern audience wanting to play a series. And I do think that Dragon Quest 3 actually would turn off a lot of people just in terms of how archaic it still is. Now, obviously, there's a lot of modern design there, a lot of modern things brought into it. But at the end of the day, it's still a very grindy, very straightforward RPG with a story that exists, but is extremely simple because... it was made in that era where there wasn't a lot of, progress made on that front. And, I got through it. I kind of actually turned it to easy just to kind of like get through to the end. And it was fine. I'm glad I did it. It didn't really stand out to me. I think Dragon Quest 3 is thought of by many people as one of the best in the series and was a watermark thing for its era. But playing it today, it does feel like... you've seen it all before, and I think it's harder to go back to, honestly. And I would say the same for 1 and 2. 1 and 2 are different. 1 I actually like quite a lot more because 1 is very straightforward. You are literally one character. There's no party management or anything, so it's very easy breezy and nice to go through. And there's no story, but it's not really, it's very upfront about that, I would say. And then 2 is just it's good, but also like messy and very challenging and also confusing in lots of ways and has one of the worst dungeons in any game. So yeah, I do think that early Dragon Quest is just a little too raw for people who are not that deep. If you're deep into RPGs, fine. But if you're more casual with RPGs, I just don't think I can wholeheartedly recommend those first 3 Dragon Quest games. They don't have enough to hold on to from like a storytelling perspective to get into. And it is very straightforward in terms of combat. And difficult, like challenging, brutally difficult in a way that I don't think is that fun. Yeah, they're good, but like you have to be a certain person going into those games. And I know you, and you're not that person, so I just don't think it's a good idea.
Or maybe Reimagined for 7 is the option.
Yeah, so Dragon Quest 7 is my favorite Dragon Quest game. I played it on the 3DS, loved it. I think one of the things I really like about it is it feels like a TV show, and Dragon Quest has always been good about that, where every town feels different, the accents and all that sort of stuff is really well done, but there's a literalization of that in 7 where you're going to different islands in time, and so you have this map that you're kind of getting tablets for, and every new one you find is a new island in a different time period, and so you're kind of jumping between time periods and different islands, and each island is like a self-contained like 2-hour kind of adventure basically, and you do that consistently throughout the game, so it has that kind of episodic television vibe to it that I really like, and it also has the class system that's my favorite class system in a Dragon Quest game, which is really fun and reminded me a lot of like Fire Emblem Sacred Stones in a lot of ways. I really enjoyed like the branching paths that it has and that sort of stuff. So yeah, I love 7, and it's weird they're remaking this one because I would have thought they would have gone for something a bit more popular like 5, for example. But yeah, I think it sounds like Square Enix are just hell-bent on remaking every Dragon Quest game again, even though they already remade this one for the 3DS not that long ago. I guess it was at this point probably a decade.
And was the original 7 on PlayStation 1?
Correct. So the original PlayStation was 7 on PlayStation 1, but it was a 2D game in an era where Final Fantasy 7 was happening, right? And so that's why...
So they weren't chibi in that game?
No, they didn't look anything like this. If you go look up PlayStation 1 footage of Dragon Quest 7, it looks like a souped up Super Nintendo game, essentially. It is a 2D game fundamentally still. And what the 3DS version did was it made it a 3D game, right? And now what this is doing is it's almost taking like the original Toriyama artwork and transporting that into full 3D. So you get these very, very expressive looking characters, very kind of like bold designs, but they are really the literalizations of those 2D original character designs that Toriyama drew way back in the day for 7. So yeah,
I think I did love the art style. I do think it was a little weird in that they're kind of chibi-fied a bit, but then you still have to have like the hot lady, and you still have to have the really manly man with the massive chin, and it just felt very like,
oh god, yeah,
like it's just a bit like, this is a bit strange to look at, and yeah, I don't know. Sure. I think you'd get used to it after playing half an hour or so. Just like,
yeah, I will say that I think Dragon Quest VII has the most unique party setup of these games. It's just an odd bunch of characters, you know, and I think it's charming in the end. And also, like, it does stuff that you don't expect. Like, there's a significant thing that happens like 20 hours into Dragon Quest VII that is like kind of like, wait, really? They did this? That it's one of those, I wouldn't call it a twist necessarily, but it's one of those things I didn't know about going into 7, and then it came up and I was like, wow, that's bold of them to do that. So yeah, there's some really cool stuff that this game does, and I don't know if I want to play, because I played it, you know, it's a 60-hour game. I played it 10 years ago, so it's probably a good time to come back around. It is my favorite in the series, so it would be good to replay it. And I think I'm interested in what reimagined means, right? Because it's a very deliberate naming here. Like, they could have called it remake, they could have called it remaster, whatever the hell. They call it reimagined specifically. And so I wonder if that means more significant changes than what a traditional remake would do.
I think, was it Capsule J on Discord said, if it's reimagined, I guess that means that there'll be like these ghosts in the game that will be trying to replicate the story of the first game.
Get it back to the original.
Yes, yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah. I think one of the things is that it is a very long game. 7 is infamously the longest Dragon Quest, and yeah, I think the 3DS version did cut some of that down. Like, it took me 60 hours, like I said, not 100, which I think the PS1 original was. So I think they'll probably do even more of that here and slice it down, make it a bit more refined, make it a bit more palatable to people, and yeah, streamline some stuff, which I think is definitely worthwhile to do. But looks great. Very, very cool that this is happening, and I'm hoping that 5 is the one that gets the treatment next, because so up to this point, I have finished every Dragon Quest aside from 5 and 6. So 5 and 6 are the only ones I have left to play, aside from 10, of course. 10 is the MMO that is Japan only, which one day I hope and dream that they'll bring 10 to the West, but hasn't happened, and it's been like 12 years since 10 came out. 10 was playable on the Wii, for God's sake, so that tells you how long that game's been around for, and they still haven't localized it, so I don't think we'll ever get the MMO, but you know, in terms of mainline Dragon Quest, yeah, I'm almost done with my my goal of playing every single one before I die. You know, my Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest journey, which will happen. So there you go. Bally, what the fuck is wrong with Nintendo? Because our next announcement is one of those things that I just don't really understand anymore.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
What are they doing, Bally? What's happening?
Okay, so they're releasing Virtual Boy on the Nintendo Switch Online, and you can only play it with a plastic Virtual Boy that you insert your Switch console into, or you buy a cardboard version that allows you to use the VR 3D thing for your Switch 2 and play all those wonderful Virtual Boy games. And my jaw hit the floor. Okay. My three biggest issues with this are, first of all, Nintendo have already released a console that had 3D. Why didn't they do it then?
Oh, fucking hell, dude. I can't fucking believe we went through the entire 3DS. How many times on this show did we talk about that? Of like, yes. 3D, 3DS, you could put fucking Virtual Boy on here as console, and now, like 2 generations removed on a separate console, they're like, no, that wasn't a good idea. Instead, let's make a whole fucking plastic peripheral instead to do this thing that we could have done on a system where everyone had access to stereoscopic 3D. It's fucking insane.
Okay, secondly, the second of my 3 ridiculous points is Nintendo have actually had a second console with 3D in the Switch 1. and you could buy the Labo goggles. We did this, MBZ. We had
Labo
with goggles. It worked.
Labo VR.
And you think to yourself, fantastic. Now people can play the Nintendo Switch 2 with the Labo VR for the Switch 1. No, they can't, because the Switch 2 is a different size to the Switch 1. So your beautiful Labo goggles will not work on your Switch 2.
Well, not only that, Bally, but the Virtual Boy is a very specific type of 3D that is red-black 3D, and therefore the lenses on the Labo VR wouldn't even work on it in the first place. So,
and then thirdly, I thought, didn't Nintendo want us to forget about this whole thing altogether? It's their least successful console of all time.
Is it a point of embarrassment for them, right?
Jeff Gerstmann was saying on his show, just like, he remembers trade shows when they were showing off like the Virtual Boy, and even then it was like this thing around the corner away from the NES and like the Game Boy and Super Nintendo and stuff, and like it wasn't popular even before it came out, let alone once it did come out, in his view. Like it was just like this weird alternate device that Nintendo had. And yeah, I'm just flabbergasted. I've played a Virtual Boy for about 15-20 minutes. I played Wario Land in Akihabara. I went on my first trip to Japan with Caroline, and I think that 20 minutes of Virtual Boy was all that I needed, honestly. I don't think the experience is anything special, and I'm a little bit nervous that people will pay, is it $100 for the plastic one?
Yeah, in America it is. In the UK, it's not actually as bad. I think US are getting screwed here on the tariff situation. It's 66, I think 66, 67 in the UK.
I think unless people go in with really, 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 really low expectations on this game, they might be a bit disappointed, would be my fear. But you bought one anyway, MBZ. That's true. So what we
I did. I bought one anyway. So, so who gives a fuck?
But MBZ, what I admire about you is when you play old games, you're very good at tempering your expectations and enjoying the history and the ride, and not just the pure modern take on quality of a video game. So I think you can still get a lot out of it.
Absolutely.
You're the ideal audience.
Yeah. For me, it's absolutely historical curiosity, and also like I have just always wanted, like, I'm a fan of Wario Land as a series, and I've played every Wario Land game. There is one that I have not played, which is the Virtual Boy Wario Land game, right? And by all accounts, it's a really good game. It's like probably the best game on the Virtual Boy. So I would love to play it. And look, is it insane that they don't even let you play them in 2D? Yes, that's fucking crazy. The fact that you need...
But they wouldn't sell the peripheral if they did that, right?
I know, but like at least you could... The thing is, I do think that you are having an audience here who would still buy the virtual... Like the type of people who buy the Virtual Boy peripheral are going to buy the Virtual Boy peripheral if it's needed or if it's not needed, right? I think the majority of people... I'm an edge case where I wouldn't buy the peripheral if I didn't have to, you know? I would just play them in 2D and be fine with it.
Okay.
But the fact that it is there and I have to buy it, that's why I'm buying it. So I would say I am the only case here, or one of the only cases where locking it behind a peripheral increases their sales. Otherwise, I don't think it has that much of an impact. And the fact that you just can't do it without either peripheral it just adds to that kind of thing that they're building of like Nintendo greed and Nintendo like, oh, we're just going to put up our prices and we're going to do all this stuff and we can just get away with it because we're Nintendo, la la la. And I don't know, it just leaves a bad taste in people's mouths generally. That said, I do think that having the peripheral and trying to do it the proper way and trying to play those games in that format is going to be a fun thing. And also, I have a fucking Nintendo podcast, so of course I'm going to do that because it's an interesting thing to talk about and discuss, right? So there is that added layer of, yes, okay, it is for me because I want to look at it and check it out, but I have other motives in mind, which is this show, right? So
you are serving the people, our dear listeners, who want to hear what the hell this thing is all about.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. There's that curiosity to it, and also, yeah, I don't know, like I don't think I will get that much time out of it in the end. I will play but I do think one of the things this does is a motivator to every time Nintendo update the Virtual Boy to say, right, I'm going to jump in, I'm going to check out the new Virtual Boy game, right, and just see what it's like, because I do think that's a factor in like making me want to go back and see those games as they were at the time. So yeah, I also do think that like probably this version of it will be less I don't know, headache inducing than the original was. Like, they wouldn't be able to sell it and put it out there otherwise, because that was a big deal back then when the original came out, and there was some stories about that and some issues that people had with it. So I imagine the more refined version that they've kind of put out here, the modern take on the Virtual Boy, I think will be a more pleasurable experience for people and their eyeballs than it was back 20 years ago or whatever it was. So
one more issue that I don't personally have, but I appreciate some hardcore Nintendo fans will definitely have, is one of the most unique things about the Virtual Boy was the controller. And Nintendo have gone out of their way to make replica controllers for the NES, the Super Nintendo, the N64, we got GameCube. I'm definitely surprised they didn't go the whole hog and maybe even make a third tier of Virtual Boy that included a replica controller.
Yeah, that would have been nice. I mean, honestly, having it bundled in with the Virtual Boy itself would be good, but we do live in this era of Nintendo where...
with the double dueling D-pads. That's the unique thing about the Virtual Boy controller.
Right, yes, very, very weird as a controller. But I think I'm fine. You know, the stupidest thing about this is, okay, you can buy this cardboard thing, but just think for a second, right? Because this cardboard thing doesn't have a strap. The way people have to play this is you have to hold it to your face and keep your arms up to control it, because otherwise it will fall off your face.
You could put it on your Kid Icarus Uprising stand to get it at your eye level or something.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I think that the cardboard one of this, like, I appreciate them doing it, but it doesn't have a fucking strap on the back.
Come with a strap or a stand.
Like, but that is insane. It is fucking insane that they expect you to hold it to your face and play it with your hands next to your head. Like, absolute lunacy.
Because the one we had for Switch 1, the Labo, it was in the gun that you were shooting, so you were holding the whole gun to your face.
So you held it up,
like looking down a sniper rifle or something. You're kind of like,
yes, it was like doing an arcade game to some extent. And even then, it did, get yourself tired. But to be fair, those games were meant to be played for 5 minutes at a time, right? Like, that was the whole pitch of it. So anyway, it's a whole fucking thing. So, but I'm glad that they're doing something new with the online service and having a new console be added and it being Virtual Boy, and also the fact that they...
Who was going to predict Virtual Boy would be the next console after GameCube?
Nobody. Literally no one, never ever in the history of Nintendo fandom. I think the fact that they are committing to do every Virtual Boy game, I think, is quite good. The fact that it is only 14 games makes it easier, but I appreciate that the whole catalog will be playable, so that's nice. God, what a world we live in. Anyway, look out in 26 for this show where I will be talking about the Virtual Boy in detail, so that'll be fun. Cool. Weird Nintendo continues, Bally, because yes, we have a release date for Metroid Prime 4, but once again, we are treated to a trailer that I don't know. John at Good Vibes Gaming put up a great video on this, which is there have been no good trailers for Metroid Prime 4.
I don't disagree.
Which I think is a very good point, and there's never been something that like think about the way that Nintendo handled Breath of the Wild's announcement, all that sort of stuff. Like the greatest trailer ever made. As like surely the same people are helping to make these trailers, right, within Nintendo or however it's built.
Do you don't think it's also a difficult game to make a trailer for?
That is an argument for sure, and I definitely hear that. I think that Prime is a unique game in that it isn't necessarily about bombast that much. That said, like there is the opening cutscene I played at Gamescom that is like fucking CG. They put some budget into this. Like it's actually like feels like Star Wars in some senses, like there's a lot popping off there. And I don't know, I think you can. I think thing with trailers, and having worked with trailer editors and worked on trailers for multiple years now, you can make anything be a cool trailer. You just have to have the vision for it and take the pieces and put them together in the right way. And I don't think they've ever been able to do it. And I think they can, but I don't know. I don't know what it is with Prime 4 and their lack of good trailers.
I think they saved those trailer editors for Mario and Zelda would be my guess. I reckon they've just got... if they don't rate Metroid in that same category, would be...
Potentially, there's also like the factor of Retro Studios in here, and then being the Western studio and being separated, and maybe that's a factor.
You have to be a Japanese studio to get the elite editing team. Come on now.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know how it all works out. But anyway, Prime 4, still very excited for it, of course, and weirdly more excited because it feels like there's something different going on here with the game. which is you have a motorbike now. You're on a motorcycle and you're riding around.
Okay. Shout outs to Guillaume at RFN. Did you hear his suggestion?
I can't remember, but yeah, enlighten me.
So his suggestion is Samus should just be in the morph ball, and that would be a replacement for the front wheel on the motorbike. Why is she riding the motorbike?
Oh my God.
Like, yes, Guillaume. Yes,
That's
Guillaume.
so true. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That would have been much, much better. But I don't know. It looks pretty cool. Did you have this experience, Bally, where you were watching this and you were like, is this Metroid Prime 4? Because I certainly had that experience of being like, is this a spin-off? What the fuck is going on? Because it looked so totally different.
At what point? At the bike point?
At the bike point, when she's riding around the desert.
Oh, I was confident. Yeah, I was confident.
Okay, because I was wavering. I was like, is this like a third branch Metroid game where you explore like on a... Like, I was like, what the fuck is happening? Because it looks so drastically different, that sequence and the way that it's cut and like the action of it and everything. It feels quite the antithesis of what Metroid Prime usually is, which is slow, contemplative exploration. She's just fucking like pedal to the metal doing slides and destroying things, you know? Like it felt quite different tonally. So
I mean, I would argue that the tone and pacing of the Metroid games does change a lot between 1, 2, and 3. So I've obviously played 1, 2, and like I played like I don't know 3-4 hours of 3, and 1 is very pure to like the Super Metroid formula. 2 is it's almost a bit more it's almost a bit gated in terms of like Hollow Knight in some ways, where it's like this is an area to explore and now this is an area to explore, and it just feels a little more structured. And then 3 is just so much more linear that I wouldn't be surprised if the format for this game is a bit more linear, but then to get around that, they do have this open area that will connect up multiple linear sections.
Right.
I'd be shocked if it sticks quite closely to Metroid Prime 1, but I don't know. We'll see.
yeah, less of a tighter, interconnected world and more like...
Did you get any impression from the demo?
No, because the demo is the same as the treehouse that we saw, so we kind of have the same things from that, basically.
It's just like one linear bit.
Yeah, it's just like the opening section, essentially, right? Yeah, I mean, so I noticed, so if you look at the footage, you can see in the distance the giant tree, which obviously has been teased before as part of the previous trailers of like this forest area, like the very first trailer we got, not the one in 2017, but the one like a year ago or whatever it was when they first re-revealed it. And, we were we're doing the opening sequence, and then the end of the trailer is Samus walking into that kind of forest environment. And you can see there's like this giant tree in the background. If you look in this trailer, you can see that area in the distance of the giant tree in the forest. So I imagine that is your starting zone. And then you almost, there is a kind of like JRPG-ness to this. There's almost a JRPG overworld sense of like, you know, if we think about Expedition 33 and you like exit into the overworld, like almost feels like that's your starting point, and then you exit into the overworld, and then you can go to these sub areas that probably have their own Metro style maps in them, but are more separated in the way that they're put together. So less interconnected maybe could be a thing here. Which I wonder for some people will be concerning, but I'm sure I'm just honestly I'm happy that it has its own identity now, because it did feel a lot of the time like it's going to be more Metro Prime, and that's great, and people want more Metro Prime, but like, is there going to be something that distinguishes it? And I think this is the thing that will make it stand out, you know, which is nice.
Definitely. It's come and eaten Octopath Zero's dinner.
It's coming the same day as Octopath. Could you imagine a worse day for Bally, like, or a best day? I imagine an Octopath game and a Metro Prime game on the same day.
And beating either of those games in time for Game of the Year discussions is stressful enough.
No, it's impossible.
On the same day, so I don't know. We're just gonna have to think outside the box.
Yeah, we'll see. But it's 4th of December. So a nice little present for us.
As things stand, I'm going to be buying Prime 4 on that day, and I'm holding off on Octopath Zero until at least next year.
I need to see what the hell reviews are for Zero.
I also need to see reviews. I'm a little concerned.
Yeah, I'm a bit skeptical about that game, but we'll see.
I've heard good previews about the game. But,
yeah, we'll see what they do. Cool. Yep. So Metro Prime 4, that's certainly a thing. So I got excited again, Bally, because I was like, oh shit, they're doing DLC for Donkey Kong Bananza. That's great. And I think it's interesting, right? Because there's a degree to which you could look at this again from the lens of, Nintendo once more, they're trying to get money out of people quickly, which is to say this is a $20 DLC that has come out like about a month after the game has come out, and seemingly doesn't add that much. I mean, it has this mode, this roguelike mode, Emerald Rush, which I'm just not that interested in personally. I'm just like, okay, that's cool, I guess. Like, it feels like Nintendo are reserving their DLCs as roguelike things, generally speaking. Like, Splatoon, that I played earlier this year, Splatoon 3's DLC, is a roguelike mode. Actually works quite well in that case, because it feels like the mechanics are built towards it a bit more. DK, I don't know. It just feels like, yeah, I mean, the whole game is smashing, and so just more intense smashing and a time limit is not really what I'm looking for. And so I was like, okay, that's fine, that, you know, that's not for me. But there is a whole new DK Island, only for me to find out that DK Island really doesn't have anything to do in it aside from Emerald Rush. And so there's no, like, traditional go and find all the bananas. There's no fossil hunt in it. The only time that you do that is when you're playing Emerald Rush specifically. So, like, that sucks, because I do think I would have been interested in, like, okay, a new level for me to go and do. And I love Danganronpa Bananza. I certainly would have played more of it and would have done that DK Island and cleaned it out. And maybe would have, like, dabbled in the Emerald Rush, but really wouldn't have played much of it. But that probably would have been enough for me. The fact that it's, like, there isn't any of that is kind of baffling. And I know, once again, it's like, okay, you know, Mario Wonder has this stuff that doesn't feel very helpful. And this also is, I don't know, Kirby also is a weird one where, you know, there's extra levels in Forgotten Land, but they're kind of attached to the levels, or, like, I don't know, the decisions Nintendo are making with extending their game content, I have generally not been a big fan of in recent times. And I think this just continues that trend of, okay, here's the thing, but actually you don't really, don't be interested in that. It's fine. It's not for you, really. So, yeah. A little disappointing, that one.
It's a little sad that they kind of tied the nostalgia of DK Island into the DLC, where a lot of people are like, where's DK Island in the main game? And
right.
I don't know, just...
Especially with Mario Odyssey having, like, that post-game kingdom that was such a delight and surprise. Like, could you imagine DK having DK Island? Even if they did the same thing here, where you didn't have any bananas or things to collect in it, I think just locking it to this feels bad, especially it coming so soon after launch. You know, this was already developed already. It wasn't a thing that they've spent time making since the game came out. Like, it's just bad vibes, really, I think, is the thing about it.
And for me personally, like, I love DK Bananza. I don't have the time to play DLC I don't even have the time to play the, like, post game of that game that I loved so much. Like, I just don't have the time. And put on top of that, it's $20. Like, I'm not interested in playing that anytime soon, really. And do I want a roguelike mode where I'm gonna smash things? I don't know. If I want a roguelike mode, I'm gonna play some Hades 2. That's my roguelike mode. So there we go.
Yeah, it's it's disappointing, because, like, there's a universe in which I do play and buy this, but yeah, it's not this one, unfortunately. Pokemon Pokopia. So Nintendo looked at, you know, a few different games, I'm sure, Pal World, Minecraft, Dragon Quest Builders in some cases, and we're like, hey, yeah, so Pokemon's the biggest IP in the world. What about we make a Minecraft that's Pokemon and also has, like, a bit of Animal Crossing in it? And what if the main character was a Ditto that looked like a weird fucking human? Lots of, you know, as you said, a weird Nintendo Direct with weird stuff. Samus on a bike.
Why can't you just play as pink blobby Ditto?
Right, yeah, you can just walk around as Ditto, I'm sure. It's weird, isn't it? I think that the justification for them in universe, right? Let's think about this from Pokemon Company's perspective. It's like, humans can't talk to Pokemon, and this is a game where you have to talk to Pokemon. And so, what if you had a Ditto that can talk to Pokemon, but you have to walk around it like you're a human? Like, I do get why it's a Ditto, though, because you're learning moves from other Pokemon, and Ditto can uniquely transform to then perform those moves, right? So I get why, I get the logic behind it. It's just like the type of human they made is so weird and, like, scary in senses that I also do think that honestly that character turns off some kids because they're too weirded out by the character.
It's weird. Our friend mentioned this as well, like the Detective Pikachu film, those moments where there are humans in that film who are Dittos that are transformed into humans, and it's weird, it's creepy, it's horror film level of weird.
Right.
I hate it.
Yeah, which is odd for a game that is supposed to be wholesome and cute and charming and relaxing, really. So
the coolest thing about this game was all the building was going on and buildings were coming up, and then there were trees, and then you zoomed out And when they zoomed out, it was like, oh my god, it looks like Pokemon Red and Blue. Like the design of the world, I just thought that was very well done.
Very deliberate,
clever.
but well put together. This to me feels like a game you would play with your kids, Bally, does it not? Like, it seems like in a Minecraft generation of creation and doing things, but also Pokemon being the biggest thing in the world, it's
definitely like a step above Bally Jr. Like right now we're just doing some basic platforming, some basic exploring, but it's not far away. Yeah, I would consider it for sure. Pokemon...
In a few years' time, it definitely seems like the sort of thing that would be good.
Yeah, Pokemon's one of these things where he knows who Pikachu is. He knows what Pokemon are, but he's not seen the anime. He's not played any Pokemon video games. So, like, he's just kind of aware that there are these things called Pokemon. I don't think he really knows anything about Pokemon. So, I feel like his age demographic are very unaware of Pokemon in a way where I feel like Disney and Spider-Man have done a better job of doing, like, a chibi version of Spider-Man that Bally Jr. loves watching that TV show, for example. Like, I think there's a bit, you need to be at least like 6, 7, 8 before you actually know what Pokemon properly is, rather than just be aware of what they are, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's he'll get there, I'm sure, because it's one of those weird things where Pokemon, despite being this thing that has been around for so long, it's still relevant to new generations every single time. And I guess that always explains why Pokemon games never truly evolve, is that they're always serving that new generation who are coming in, who their first Pokemon game is Sword and Shield, or their first Pokemon game is Scarlet and Violet, or whatever, right? Like, it's it's built for generations to be indoctrinated, essentially, right? Like, that's the idea. So I'm sure this will help spread the good word of Pokemon to more people.
Yeah, if he can get over Ditto.
Yeah, we'll see. Cool. 2 big more announcements. So, you know, I'm a fan of Danganronpa. Bally, you've now played Danganronpa, so you could be considered a fan of Danganronpa. So they announced Danganronpa 2 is getting remade, and I was like, oh, okay, that's weird. Like, why 2? Why just 2 specifically? Because, like, if you're going to remake something, it's like, maybe start with the first one, and then, you know, you go and you do all of them. So that's odd. Why are they doing that? And then they're like, and also, there's a second and then they're like, it's 2 by 2. And I'm like, what is going on here? And obviously this is a series where there's lots of mystery and fuckery going on. And Bally, I need you to do some maths for me real quick. What's 2 times 2?
4.
4, that's correct. Yeah, 2 times 2 is 4. How many Danganronpa games have there been up to this point, Bally?
I guess 4.
No, there've been 3 mainline Danganronpa games. So
this is the 4th.
Okay, this is what the fandom is saying. Is like, is this Danganronpa 4 in disguise, basically being disguised as a remake for 2 that also has a different scenario for
cool,
2?
Wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah. So
I'd end up with a lot of egg on my face if I ended up playing this one instead of the original 2 in that case.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. So this one will be a full remake of 2. So you would be able to do that. I think the difference is that this has a second version of 2 where the story diverges because something happens, and so all the victims are different and all the perpetrators are different. So it's like a remix of the original 2, which is crazy. Yeah. They've basically redone the story completely, and I'm sure it will lead to other stuff and tie into other stuff. So yeah, it's weird. And yeah, I recall that you told me you already bought Danganronpa 2 on sale.
I do already own 2 on my Steam Deck. So, but I mean, I don't need the version with the extra bells and whistles. No. I just want to play standard 2 on the original Steam Deck, and I own it now. Yeah. The original, and that's fine because I want to play 3 after that. And if this is the 4th game in disguise, then fine, I'll play 4 after that. Right. But like, I don't know, that'd be really cool if it was 4 in disguise.
I don't know, dude. Like, they really... This is a series that likes to mess with its fans in many ways, and I could see that happening.
Is the original guy behind Danganronpa still there, though? Isn't he off doing the other...
So that is Kazutaka Kodaka. So Kodaka, obviously he was involved in... Okay, so quick history lesson. So Kodaka used to work at Spike Chunsoft, I believe, and Spike Chunsoft were the publishers of the original Danganronpa. He then left, and he joined Kotaro Uchikoshi, who is the Zero Escape creator. They started a studio together. That studio is called 2Kyo Games. and 2Kyo have released a number of titles, but Kodaka still does stuff with Spike Chunsoft. So Master Detective Archives Rain Code was a game that he did with Spike Chunsoft, was involved with that, and this seems like he is working on it, and a lot of 2Kyo's talent seem to also be working on it, so that studio is still involved with this, and so a lot of people who worked on the Danganronpa series previously are on this project. He is not the main scenario writer, but he is like overall producing it and looking over it, so he does still have oversight on what the narrative is going to be, which is good. But obviously he released 100 Line Last Defense Academy this year as well as another giant game, so I know this man is working, he's hustling, he's doing a lot of stuff.
What's your 100 Line Last Defense Academy update?
I'm like 40 hours into that thing. I'm on my like second 100 days basically, so I need to get back to it. It's hard in a time where every video game that I want to play is coming out, but I'm not done with that game yet. I'm still very much enjoying it. I don't think I've even talked about it on the show yet, I'm pretty sure, so I will save that until I'm fully done with it, but that might be sometime next year because there's a lot of stuff happening. Okay. But yeah, I have rolled credits, but I only rolled credits on what you could call the tutorial of the game, which is the first 100 days, which in itself is 30 hours of video game. So yeah, it's long, it's big, it's expansive, and there's a lot of choice and consequence in that game, and a surprisingly good tactics kind of mode generally. Like all the gameplay stuff with the tactics is really good and has actually pulled me through that game quite strongly. So yeah, but yeah, I'll talk about that at some point in the future. Anyway, Danganronpa 2x2. Am I going to be an idiot and buy this again? Of course I am, because I'm a stupid idiot. I'll probably wait and see what people say, and if people are like, by the way, it's kind of Danganronpa 4 kind of basically, then I think I will have to. And even if it's not, even if it is just a weird scenario with Danganronpa 2, I'm still kind of curious about what that would be. So yeah, I probably will end up playing this at some point, just to be a completionist about it. So yep, that's big. But of course, Bally, the biggest announcement, the most important one, and I would argue the one that got most people excited, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, a brand new Fire Emblem game. There were rumors, rumblings, I don't know, people saying stuff before the direct, saying, I heard people talking about there was going to be like a Persona 5 Royal version of Three Houses, of like, it's Three Houses, but we added a new house and there's all this new characters and different scenarios and stuff. And I was like, please don't do that. Like, we've played Three Houses, a lot of people have, and it's like, I don't want to do that again. I want something different. And I'm glad all those rumors were wrong, because yes, this game is tied to Three Houses in some way that people are not sure about yet, but it is a brand new world. Well, it's probably in the same world, but it's a brand new set of characters. Different time period, seemingly inspired by like a classical period of time. There's a Colosseum like area. The kind of lead character at the start looks like an emperor of some kind. We see chariots. There's a Roman Empire kind of vibe to this Fire Emblem that I think is quite unique and interesting, and definitely a different time period approach than what we have seen in the series before. Like, obviously Fire Emblem is very medieval coded in terms of its usual aesthetics, and the idea of doing like something set in the past but more in a Roman Empire classical period, I think is super fascinating. So as someone who, you know, studied Latin and Greek and knows a good amount about classical history, I think that's going to be very cool to see how they try and intersect that with real history and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's very, very cool that they've gone in this direction. So yeah, I think the thing that everyone has been trying to figure out, and this was something that I did at work as well. So on Friday when the direct was happening, there was a long meeting afterwards, like end of day work meeting. It was like super long, and me and two of my colleagues who are both also into Fire Emblem were just in a Slack DM basically analyzing the trailer while this meeting was happening. So we're just like trying to figure out what the fuck is going on, who is it, what characters, like what the classes and stuff like that is happening. So it's a lot of people have been doing that. I've watched multiple analysis videos of this trailer, people trying to break down like, you know, where is this? What's happening? What's going on in the timeline? So the final tease at the end of the trailer was very familiar voice for people who've played Three Houses. It's the character Sothis. Sothis is a character who's kind of like a dragon god type of thing. She lives in your head in Three Houses, and is like, she talks to you throughout the game, and eventually stuff happens, but she's a kid in that game. She's an adult here. However, that doesn't mean that this is a sequel. It could actually mean that this is a prequel, because I believe that she existed and then she then became a ethereal creature who was then in your head. So maybe this is Sothis before that happens to her. So maybe she's an adult, but it is a prequel. So there's lots of people trying to figure out where it lines up in the timeline, but it is 100% connected to Three Houses in some way, to the degree that a lot of the weapons from Three Houses, the heroes' relics are there, as well as the crests. The crests were a whole big deal in Three Houses, and there's lots of characters who look like equivalent of like their descendants or like ancestors to Three Houses characters. So there's going to be a lot of direct correlation, I think. So this makes a lot of sense, honestly. I do think it's interesting where Intelligent Systems obviously worked with Tecmo Koei on Three Houses, and that's, that was a very well received game, beloved. I think to most people, I would say Awakening and Three Houses are the two most popular Fire Emblem games in the fandom. Three Houses was the one that I still think to this day is sold the best. I think it is the best-selling game in the franchise. And I think that blending of Persona elements, the school stuff, with the tactics and the branching pathways and the choices and, having the Three Houses and who you chose, I think was a great formula for the fandom era that we exist in and the internet that we exist in, right? And the conversations that happen around it, and the Three Houses discourse, as people like to call it, that's happened, that continues on to this day. It's a huge fandom, incredible amount of artwork and memes and things surrounding Three Houses, just a whole culture, subculture unto itself. And so it makes a lot of sense to revisit that world and to do something else with it. Doesn't seem like Tecmo Koei are working on this, so I think it is Intelligent Systems fully. But, Engage obviously did not land well for a lot of people. It was very much more focused on a classic Fire Emblem setup where it was map to map, and you were basically, the story was non-existent, essentially. It existed, but it was terrible. It's some of the worst writing I've seen and acting in a video game, to be frank about it. But, the tactics was good, and the map design was good. I think Three Houses map design is a little lackluster compared to what Engage was able to do, and so I'm hoping that this kind of like brings both together, has like more classic, good map design alongside the branching choice narrative and obviously all the character stuff the Three Houses brought, because Three Houses to this day still has the best character conversations in the franchise in terms of the support conversation stuff that you have. The main story is good, but I think its strength really lies in that characterization and the relationships between the crew that you have in Three Houses. So I expect this is going to be quite a big hit for them on Switch 2. It's going to activate that audience who have been waiting for a Three Houses follow-up of some kind. And yeah, I think it's going to do quite well, and I am very excited to play it. Have been, jonesing for Fire Emblem a little bit. This always happens. Every couple of years a Fire Emblem game comes out, but just before one comes out, I always have that like itch of like, oh, I gotta get back to Fire Emblem and play some tactics. There's just something about it that's very comfort food to me that I will always like slip back into like a glove, and love to play. So yeah, very, very happy with that. And I don't know, so we do have some questions, Bally, from the Discord as well that we might want to jump through here. But one of them is from Hey Raf, and Hey Raf says, as the first major direct post-launch of the Switch 2, I felt slightly underwhelmed. I'm sure you guys will go into your own thoughts. How do you feel about Fire Emblem as the one more thing? Is that enough juice for the moment? And I think this is interesting because this has happened a couple of times now where Nintendo Directs have ended with franchises that you might not have traditionally thought as big one more things, but have, by the Switch era and the way that their audience has grown, become significant. And that would be Xenoblade Chronicles 3 ending a direct a few years ago, and Fire Emblem ending this direct. And I think that a lot of people, especially in our podcasting sphere, I think they're a little honestly behind the times when it comes to popularity of Nintendo franchises and what people care about. And to be quite honest with you, Xenoblade and Fire Emblem, at this point, I would say are B-tier franchises above stuff like Metroid, which I think is actually a C-tier in terms of popularity. And I do think that these franchises have the juice to end directs because there is a significant audience for them now. And it may not be within your circle or within the people you listen to, but it is actually a very large audience who are now interested in this more JRPG narrative side of Nintendo that the traditional Nintendo fan has not really been up on, basically. So I do think it's significant enough to end a direct on, given specifically the audience of Three Houses and how big that fandom is and the cultural impact that had on the internet, basically. So, yeah.
I mean, if you rank, 3D Zelda and 3D Mario as the two absolute triple star, A tier, it's simply not possible for Nintendo to end a direct with an announcement for one of those two games every year.
Of course,
And so I think that's where I think B tier games definitely do fulfill that final game spot, whether that's Xenoblade, Fire Emblem. Could put in something like I don't know, Splatoon maybe gets in there. I don't know. It's debatable.
I think Splatoon is more of an A tier just in terms of sales potential.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think so.
So I think that, a lot of this is very subjective as well, but there's simply not enough franchises for Nintendo to always end a direct, even if it's their kind of biggest direct of the year.
Right.
With a big game. As we've said before, development cycles get longer and longer.
Of course.
So for it to end with Fire Emblem is a big deal.
Yeah.
And it'll be a bigger finale to a direct than 90% of directs
100%.
for the next 10 years. Yes, we will get a direct that ends with a new Zelda at some point, a new Mario at some point. Great. But that's 2 out of, the next 10. You can't always end with something absolutely top A tier.
Right.
So yeah, it's a strong direct.
We talked about this a lot. There's a lot of people out there who are like, I'm a Nintendo fan, and they're like, I like Mario and Zelda, and that's it. And sure, okay, you I think it's just there's an expectation sometimes from these people with Nintendo Directs of cater to me, the thing that I like, and
yes.
Everyone has different taste, obviously, and it just so happens that me and Bally, I would say across Nintendo spectrum, cover pretty much every franchise, so we're always going to be interested in one thing or another. But that's I think that's not most people, and so I definitely appreciate people who are like, oh, you ended with Fire Emblem, I don't care about that, and it's well, okay. But you're not gonna always get something you care about, right? So I think it's.
I mean, I'm surprised there wasn't a second Three Houses style game on Switch 1. To be honest, I know that there was Engage.
Well, I mean, technically there was Three Hopes, which is the Warriors game, which is the other thing that just always gets thrown in here of we haven't even talked about them, but I think there's 3 Warriors games in this direct. Because there's the One Piece one, there's Dynasty Warriors Origins, and there's Hyrule Warriors, of course, as well. Which I think that says a lot about our taste. Is we've just gone through the significant things from the direct. We completely skipped. There's a Zelda game in this direct. We skipped over it because it's a Warriors thing that we just don't care about, right? And so okay. Say, for example, that they end a direct with Super Mario Warriors, I'm going to be like, well, that was a bad way to end it, but that's because I don't like Warriors games, right? And I do think that, you have to come to it from a perspective of there is someone who loves this, there is someone who this is the audience for, the one more thing is for them, not for you, right? And I think that's an important perspective to keep with these presentations, because
Definitely.
we're just at a stage where gaming is so diverse and different, and there's so many different types of games that you're never going to be served by every single thing in a presentation. So yeah, I think that's a good thing to remember in terms of what Nintendo is showing. Bally, we have a couple of more here. Questions you want to pull?
Matrias says, what's your favorite what the fuck Nintendo moment from the direct? My personal nominations are selling the talking flower from Wonder, selling Rosalina's storybook as a physical piece of merchandise but without the expansions the remasters are adding, and adding the entire library of the Virtual Boy to NSO.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about the Rosalina book thing, but that's another bizarre situation of so this version of Mario Galaxy is going to technically be slightly different from the 3D All-Stars version because it has more pages of Rosalina's book in it. Also, they've added Rosalina's book back to Galaxy 2, which if you go and look up interviews from back in the day, there's a bunch of back and forth interviews with Koizumi and with Miyamoto, and Miyamoto being I told them to take the fucking book out of Galaxy 2, and now Koizumi is back putting that book.
Yeah, where did I hear this? That Koizumi... Was it a podcast we listened to?
It's kind of common knowledge that Koizumi is the one trying to sneak story into Mario games.
Pushing lore into Mario Galaxy for all these years.
Yeah, and Miyamoto's always fucking take that shit out. No one cares about it. So anyway, Koizumi won the war.
Miyamoto's got his head in the clouds with the film at the moment, and so Koizumi's now's my chance.
Yeah, he self got in there and was
Mario Galaxy
let's put
lore.
some fucking pages into this thing, increase the lore of Galaxy. Which, to be fair, it's probably helpful for the Mario movie. Because, hey, Miyamoto, I thought you didn't like stories. That's all movies are. They're just stories. So you fucking got to deal with it now, right? So yeah, I don't know. That was also odd. The fact they are doing the book, but the book is only going to have stuff from the original games in it, and not the new stuff they're adding to the remaster. Is like, it's just, I don't know. It's very, very strange. I mean, I don't think you can top Virtual Boy on Switch. Honestly,
nothing tops Virtual Boy.
Like, it's it's so out of the blue and bizarre. I don't know. Actually, I do have a second one that hasn't been mentioned here and that we haven't mentioned. So there was a segment on Kirby Air Riders where they were like, okay, here are these amiibo, and you can swap them, and it does the same thing as Smash Brothers, right? Where it's like a thing you train, like you race against it, and you train your own one, and then you can put your friend's one against yours, whatever. Air Riders is a whole thing. And then at the end, they're like, hey, by the way, you know how Sakurai did 45 minutes on this racing game that has 2 buttons? Guess what? There's a second one. They're doing a second Kirby Air Riders Nintendo Direct. And I'm like, what the fuck does Sakurai... Does he, like, have, like, scandalous information on everyone at Nintendo? Like, the leeway they have given him to be like... He's like, yeah, I want another presentation. And they're like, yes, Mr. Sakurai, of course. Take as long as you want, do as many directs as you want. I'm just like, what is this man got on the rest of Nintendo?
It must be just how important he is to obviously the Smash Brothers series.
Of course,
and maybe they have thought about using someone else to try and make the next iteration of that game, and they've maybe failed and realized, right, it's going to have to be Sakurai, but we just have to placate him for the 5 years in the middle between the 2 games and try and win him over to sign a new contract. I don't know, like, he seems like a very important cog in the whole puzzle of what they're trying to put out there. It's absolutely the fact that they want him to make the new Smash Brothers, and so I think they're just acquiescing to every request he has and just saying like, hey, you want to do these amiibos where you swap them? Sure, let's do that. Do you want a second Nintendo Direct where you talk about every other thing in Kirby Air Riders? Yeah, that's fine. Do you want to have it so that when people go to Gamescom, the demo lasts 45 minutes? Yeah, let's do that. That's a great idea. Let's make them do the 10-step tutorial. Like, I think Sakurai just gets to do what he wants because Smash Brothers is so significant and important a pillar for Nintendo that he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna make my own thing and I'm gonna do what I like, and it's Kirby Air Riders because I love it and I get to do whatever I want. And that includes doing another, which I, to be honest with you, wouldn't be surprised if it is also 45 minutes long, this upcoming Direct. Absolutely.
And I don't know that I'm going to watch it. I still haven't watched the first one, and I don't think I need to.
I've not
because I have less than zero interest in Kirby Air Riders at this point. I played it, not for me. I don't think it ever will be for me, but I'm very happy to all the sickos out there who liked it on GameCube and are getting a new one. I'm fascinated to see how this game sells, honestly. I don't know. I don't know who's up for Kirby Air Riders. Some people are, but yeah, not me. Yeah, that definitely is one of the weirder things of this Direct, in a Direct full of weird stuff, generally speaking. So, yeah. Cool. Any other questions we have, Bally?
Sally says, Fatal Frame 2 remake makes me wonder what Patreon threshold needs to be hit for you all to play a horror game. It's not happening.
It's not happening. Yeah, I replied to this. I said $10 million. So yeah, just get that, get those checks in. And as soon as we hit that, that'll
go and support us on Patreon.
Yeah, of course. Luck. Yeah, good luck. Good luck indeed. Fantastic. And then we have a question about NSO as well.
Laurie Davis 5435 says, NSO question: do you think we will get the Wii added to NSO this generation? If so, what would be your top 3 games to be added? Cheers, guys. Long time listener of the pod. Keep up the great work. Cheers, Laurie.
Yeah, it's. I don't think so.
When Mario Galaxy collections are coming out, it feels a bit unlikely.
Right. Yeah, I know. We did say this with some other stuff as well, of like Sunshine being put on, and then Paper Mario Thousand Year Door being remade, and we're like, well, they're not going to do GameCube. And it kind of is correct, because GameCube is exclusive to the new system as opposed to being available on Switch 1. But maybe that's the thing, is like I think the way they're pacing out like the generations is they have to wait a minimum of like 3 generations prior before they then do the next one, or 4 in this case, I guess, with GameCube, because Switch is their 8th home console, right? 8th console.
remember.
Yeah, because Wii is 5th, then Wii U is 6th, Switch is 7th, Switch 2 is 8th. So, yeah, we're 4 generations removed. I think that's probably the cadence they'll stay at. So, I think we'll get Wii in the generation after this one, most likely. I don't think that they will add another console anytime soon. And like you said, doing remasters of Galaxy and Galaxy 2, they could have, put those out. But it's the same thing with Skyward Sword as well. Skyward Sword got a full remake, and that's a Wii game. I know GameCube and Wii is a little bit interchangeable just because the power level is about the same. So you could feasibly do it. And I don't know, there's ways in which you can modify it with the mouse controls working for those games as well with the pointer. So yeah, there's a way to make it happen. I don't know that they will. I think, we've actually been getting some decent updates for the Switch Online service. The Game Boy Advance is going to get a Klonoa GBA game, which is awesome, as well as Drill Dozer, I think.
Drill Dozer 2.
Yes, yeah, or Drill something. Drill Dozer is different, because Drill Dozer is
Mr. Driller.
Mr. Driller, yeah. Drill Dozer is the adventure game that I played. The kind of like platformer, not Metroidvania, but I played that on my Ambernick last year. But yeah, Mr. Driller too. So yeah, some nice things being added there, and they have a lot of consoles now to keep updates happening, and so the more you add, the more thin it gets spread in terms of updates per platform. So yeah, I think they probably will hold back a little bit, especially with Virtual Boy having just been announced. I don't think we're going to get any major new console on Switch 2, maybe until the end of the generation, at which point it will probably be like Dreamcast or something random instead, which would be awesome, but yeah, I don't think Wii is in the cards anytime soon.
Top 3 Wii games to come? Top
3 Wii games. Obviously The Last Story, because I've not played that game, and that is the one for me that I want to play the most. So that is from Hironobu Sakaguchi, who is the father of Final Fantasy. Left and made his own studio in Mistwalker. They did Blue Dragon on the 360, obviously, and then he's done mobile stuff after. So Last Story was on the Wii, obviously, and then since then he's done mobile stuff. The Fantasian that is now on Switch, that was his mobile project with Apple, and that was an Apple Arcade exclusive for a few years, and that finally came to Switch. So Last Story is one I would love to see remade or remastered or even just brought to a service at some point in time, because both Pandora's Tower and Xenoblade were buyable on the Wii U Virtual Console, but Last Story never was. So yeah, the third arm in Operation Rainfall still eludes me, and I would like to play it at some point. And then I don't know if there's any other significant Wii games. I mean, it'd be nice just from a personal level to have easier access to Wario Land Shake It, the Shake Dimension. That would be a great one to get on there for people to check out. And maybe like Zack and Wiki or something. I don't know, like some weird stuff. There's some good weird Wii games out there that I think deserve a bit more love from people. Anything for you, Bally, that kind of springs to mind?
Let's go for some Excite Truck.
Excite Bots actually is a great shout, because we never got Excite Bots.
Excite Bots is a yes. Excite Bots. I mean, let's just readdress Wii Sports. I mean, I feel like Wii Sports coming to Switch Online might even get a bigger pop than Nintendo Switch Sports ever got. I think there's just something about the nostalgia of that.
I think you're right.
Quite cool.
A Wii Sports revival from the original would definitely turn some heads, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can't even think. Like, one of my favorite Wii games. God, it's just not. I have no idea. I can't even think. Like Smash Brothers Brawl. Like, are we ever going to get Smash Brothers? I guess we got
I don't know.
Smash on the N64.
I think Smash 64. Is that on Switch Online? I think it might be. Maybe, I know everyone's crying for Melee on GameCube, but
do you think Melee will ever come?
I don't know, man. I feel like Nintendo hate Melee players more than they hate most people. So probably not. There's definitely animosity there, I think, and I think it depends on timing. It depends on like when are we gonna get a Smash Brothers thing on Switch 2? Is there going to be a stopgap of like, here's Ultimate Plus or whatever it is? It's like, here's the Switch 2 edition of Ultimate and we added 2 characters or something. I don't know. I'm not sure, because Sakurai obviously has been working on Kirby Air Riders last few years, so he's not got a Smash ready to go. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see, I think, in terms of that. But any of these other things we haven't covered, Bally, that you had any interest in? We didn't talk about Tomodachi Life, I guess, which is got a spring 26 release date. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of feeling the pull to check out Tomodachi Life when it comes out.
Really?
Like, it's just fucking funny and weird in a way that I think might be enjoyable just to get a laugh from, you know. I don't know. I never played the original, and I'm just curious about it, you know. I think there's some goofs you can have in Tomodachi Life that could be quite funny. So, yeah.
I think that Resident Evil Requiem answers that question of like, what is the first big budget game that comes to all the current gen consoles, including Switch 2 day one?
Right.
And it seems to be that game. I don't think anything else has done it yet, and that's going to be the first. So it's an interesting test case if that game does well, because I know some people were like, it doesn't really look as good as it does on, you know, the other consoles. So I don't know if it's frustrating that we're this early on into the Switch 2 life cycle and we're already like, well, it just doesn't run as well on Switch 2, does it, as the other consoles? And it's like, to already be at that stage on day one, I think from a third party perspective is a bit concerning, but it'll be interesting how that game does next year.
Yeah, to be honest with you, looking at it, I was quite impressed by how good it looked comparative to what I expected, I guess, from a Switch 2 version of a brand new third-party game that is trying to push power on stuff like the PS5 Pro and everything, you know. Like, I don't know, I think it's a very odd decision to decide, like, yeah, it's coming out, and also on the same day we're going to put 7 and 8 also out. And it's like, well, are you not just cannibalizing yourself by doing that? It's really strange, I guess. You know, the thing with 7, 8, and 9 is, like, Resident Evil is such a big franchise that those games will sell over time anyway. Like, they're the kind of evergreen titles that people will always... Like, if people are into horror and they're like, what's the horror game I should buy? The first answer is always Resident Evil for people. So whenever people are recommending friends to play stuff, they'll be like, oh, and Resident Evil 7 was really good. That's on the Switch too. So, you know, I don't think in the end it's going to make that much of a difference to Capcom, but I don't know, they could have strategized around it a little better in terms of having better windows. You know, you imagine leading up to 9 by putting 7, then 8, then 9 out in a row, you know, so that people are prepared and ready when 9 releases, they can catch up on them. But no, they decided, let's just do it all on one day, because that's a good idea. So
very strange.
Very strange. I'm very glad Persona 3 Reload is coming to Switch 2. I think that says good things about the future of Persona. Multi-platform, generally speaking, so that when Persona 6...
They can get that day one release.
100%. Yeah. When Persona 6 comes out, I will not have to buy a PlayStation anymore, and I can stop worrying about that as being an issue. I think the same with, like, the Yakuza games and all that stuff, right? Like, we are getting to this point now where a lot of these companies, Square Enix included, are thinking, like, we have to sell a certain number of copies, right? Final Fantasy VII, this trilogy, cost a lot of fucking money. We can't be exclusive to PlayStation only. We have to be on everything. And they did announce, obviously, that everything is going to come to all platforms now. So the trilogy, the whole thing will be on Switch 2, as well as Xbox, as well as, of course, PlayStation and PC. So, yeah, these Japanese developers are not going to be Sony's pocket anymore. And that means that Switch versions are going to come, and means it kind of lessens my need for PlayStation hardware in the future. So we'll see how that goes, but glad that is finally coming, because I think it's been a long time coming. The other one, which is an odd one to call out, but just the recent history necessitates I talk about it. So I talked about my sister got into Suika game, weirdly. So I was watching the direct and she was in the other room, and I was like, they just announced a new Suika game. So I was like called out to come and see it, and she was like, oh, that's cool. I forgot about that game. Can I play it now? So she then just took my Switch 2 next door and then just started playing Suika game again. So I don't think she was actually that interested in, like, the fact there was a new Suika. She was just like, oh yeah, you reminded me that I liked that thing. I'm going to go play it now for a bit. So, but Suika Game Planet, which is obviously a follow-up to the phenomenon that Suika Game was, where you drop fruits into a thing and they all come the same thing and get big. Now it's a circle. Now it's like a big orb of water, and you drop the fruit in from any direction of the circle and they get bigger. It's good. I really like Suika Game. I think it's really fun. It's a very cheap, very puzzle focused. It's kind of Tetris adjacent in a way, right? It's like a very simple, approachable puzzle game, but I like it a lot, and I'll probably pick this up because it'll probably be £3 again, so might as well. I'll definitely play some Suika Game Planet, and yeah, that'll be a good time. And yeah, I think that's most of the stuff that I wanted to cover here. I don't know if there's any others, Bally, that stood out to you, but yeah, we're getting getting some third-party kind of indies with Switch 2 stuff being added. So Stardew has mouse mode now and things like that. But yeah, don't know if there's anything else that you were interested in.
Yeah, nothing really.
Cool. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers it for the Nintendo Direct. We've run pretty long here, Bally. I don't know. It might be a good idea for us to just wrap, because I feel like that we could just spend ages talking about Hollow Knight, and that might be quite a bit. It might be better to save that, wait until you've actually beaten Act 2, because you're quite near the end of it, and then we can wrap back around to that next time. And
we've also got a lot of Hades 2 to talk about.
We
next
do.
time. That's
we do.
Be the big thing, so.
For sure. So yeah, maybe we close there, but we'll return with some more Hollow Knight chat once we have once Bally has finished the game, which probably happens in the next week, I imagine. So that will be good. But yeah, let's close out then and tell you where to find us across the internet. Of course, you can find us on Blue Sky. I'm at NBZ. Where can they find you, Bally?
I am at Ballyman91. That's BALLYMAN91 on Blue Sky. Go follow me on there.
Yeah, and you can also follow the podcast at TNL Podcast, and you'll get updates about the show and what's happening all around it and all about it. So that is great. You can email us and send us some things to the show to talk about, which we will be getting back to, and they can send their thoughts to where, Bally?
Please email ThisNintendoLife@gmail.com. That is ThisNintendoLife@gmail.com.
Fantastic. Maybe, Hades 2 next time we'll be deep diving into. So if you have some questions about that, feel free to send them there, or of course to the Discord, which is linked in the show notes also. So you can go and do that.
I'll probably put a shout out on Discord closer to the time as well.
Yeah,
we'll get there.
Absolutely. Of course, if you would like more of this podcast, you can support it directly and get bonus episodes, extra things where we talk about other video game topics that are not Nintendo related. And that is patreon.com/ThisNintendoLife. And Bally would like to thank some of our supporters.
Yes, thank you to our $10 tier plus patrons. They are Sullivan C, Zach S, Thomas, Matthew, Albert, Wicked Gamer UK, Alan, Orange Thunder, Nintendo Man, and Ali T. MBZ, we had a good back and forth with Ali T about
he did ask about Hollow Knight and whether he should play it or not, and we decided probably better to play a different. I was like, have you played another Metroidvania? He's like, I don't think so. So we pointed in the direction of Ori and the Blind Forest.
We're gonna go Ori.
And then I checked his Switch the next day, and he'd already started playing it. So look, we're effective if nothing else. Like we have recommendations. Ali T does take our recommendations if nothing else. So curious to hear his thoughts on that game.
But thank you to all of our other patrons. Also, we really, really, really appreciate all the support you give the show. Our Nintendo Life episode for October, we're going to be talking about Ghost of Yote when that game is out. So that'll be in a couple of 3 weeks.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. So
look out for it.
Go and support us over there if you want to hear about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, you can find the show in various places. We're on Spotify, we're on Stitch. You can download us. You can review and rate us on there, and that would be super helpful and nice. If you do enjoy the show, that'd be great. Tell people about it. I think and that pretty much covers us. Like I said, Hades 2 is out this week as you are listening to this, so I'm sure everybody is going to be very curious about how that has turned out. I'm very excited, and I'll be spending many more hours with it. I think currently on Steam, I have 37 hours, I want to say, so I played over 100 of Hades 1, and the scope of content that is in Hades 2 and the amount of stuff, I feel like this is a game that could take me 200 hours to fully finish. Honestly. It is enormous. It is
okay,
huge.
But how long to mainline? That's what I need.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see. We'll see what they
30,
say.
40?
It's going to take longer. It's a harder game than Hades 1. It will take you longer to finish, I believe. So, but we shall see. We shall see. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's a different thing to learn.
I remember Caroline playing Hades, and she told me she was very disappointed that she didn't have my skills to beat the game as easily as I did. And I was like, I'm not even very good. Like I don't think I'm nowhere near as good at Hades as like MZ is, but right. I think Caroline just assumed that even though she doesn't have the wealth of gaming experience that you and I have, MZ, that she was just gonna hammer Hades. But she did beat Hades a couple of times. She didn't get the credits,
right?
But she really loved that game, and so
yeah. It's a game that a lot of people love. It has wide appeal for many reasons. So, excited to dig into that and chat about it next time. But Until then, thank you everybody so much for listening. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time. Until then, see you soon. Bye-bye.